Hey Wolfpack, welcome to our pack period today. So again, remember our goal this trimester is to become better listeners, and we're doing that. Um, as a group of us are reading this book, and we're taking the concepts from the book, and we're sharing it with you guys all here in the hopes that we can all become better listeners together. Okay. So last week, if I remember correctly, the topic was the difference between listening to reply versus listening to understand. And if you remember that, the key thing with listening to understand is that you had a genuine curiosity. You had a genuine desire to want to know what somebody else's experience was like, and that curiosity is what helped you develop empathy so that you could understand that person, not just what they were saying or what they mean, but what that experience must have been like for them. Okay. Today we're shifting gears a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about what good listening is not. Right. So today's topic is roadblocks to listening. Um, you'll probably find when you start going through the roadblocks that you recognize a lot of them. You may use one, two, three, six, eight, all of them every day. Sometimes you might recognize that you typically use some roadblocks, but you see other people using the same roadblocks all the time. The goal today is to just try and learn about what roadblocks look like so we understand them, so that way we can identify them in conversation or when we're using them, especially if we're in the mindset of I want to understand, but I just used a roadblock. I need to back up and listen. Okay. So along those same lines, a little quote here. It says, "We have two ears and one mouth, and we should use them proportionally." And that's from Susan Cain. And I think the point of that's pretty clear. She feels like we should all listen a lot more than we do, and that we typically speak more than we listen. Okay. So next up, your worksheet here. I'm going to go through just one or two so you get the gist of it, but afterwards you'll have time to go through and read each one and just sit tight with me. Okay, so the worksheet looks like this, but it's on paper, not on a computer screen, and there are 12 of them. So there are 6 on the left, 6 on the right. The bold word, that's the name for the roadblock, and then there's a bit of a definition kind of, and then there are some examples, right? So agreeing. So that's pretty common. You guys know what it means to agree, right? So usually sounds like taking sides with the person, perhaps approving or praising. So if you're talking to somebody and they're telling you about an experience and you're just agreeing with them, yeah, you're absolutely right. Good for you. That's what I would have done too. Those are all agreeing, right? Which kind of ties me into the next slide. Now remember, you'll be able to come back to this in a minute and look at the rest of them. But we're talking about agreeing, and you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with agreeing, right? And you're right. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with agreeing. However, if our goal is to listen, agreeing is a roadblock, right? So roadblocks, when it comes to listening, can have different negative consequences depending on where the conversation is and what roadblock you use. But the gist of all of them is that if the goal is to listen, your roadblock is either shutting down the conversation or it's diverting the conversation in another direction, and you're kind of hijacking the conversation. Okay. So that's all. You'll notice some of these roadblocks are worse than others. When you see stuff like shaming or judging, those might be worse in more situations than agreeing is. But the point of this is that all of these are roadblocks to listening. If our goal is to listen, roadblocks don't help. Okay. So now I'll turn it over to you. You'll have time to go through the roadblocks. What I want you to do is identify like just one or two that are pretty familiar to you. Like you notice, oh, I think I do this all the time, or I do this quite a bit, or oh, my mom does this to me, or oh, so-and-so uses these. I hear them say it all the time. So find a couple of those, because I've asked your teachers to, and they might not be happy with me today. Sorry, everyone. But I've asked them to prepare to speak in monologue fashion for a few minutes about a topic of their choice. And what you guys are going to do is you're going to have your roadblock queued up. And as your teacher talks, you're going to throw the roadblock out there. And the teacher's going to try and keep talking with the same topic that they want to talk about. They're going to talk for as long as they can before you guys can't do it anymore, because there have been too many roadblocks where you all break out with a little bit of laughter. But the goal is so that way you get to see how roadblocks affect conversation, and you guys can all talk about it a little bit afterwards and go from there. Anyways, I need to listen to my own quote. 2 ears, one mouth. I'm going to stop talking now. Have a good day.